But we regularly get contacted by people here at 774 ABC Melbourne with stories about skullduggery in the real estate industry. But I don't recall as glaring, as outstanding, as appalling an example as the one that Josh Rowe has written to us about. It's a compelling story of underquoting par excellence. Josh Rowe, good morning to you.
Good morning.
You're in the market for a house.
Well, not just in market for a house. I've started a new business which is all about exposing the practices of the real estate industry.
And in particular, if we head out to an auction in Blackburn, tell me what happened.
Yeah, so on Saturday, headed out to a house on 16 Orchard Grove, Blackburn South, and it was advertised as $660,000 plus.
In print, in writing?
In print, in writing, on realestate.com.au, domain.com.au, all the main websites that people normally go to.
660 plus?
660 plus.
Come along. In a nutshell, what sort of house?
So it was actually probably a knockdown. And on a corner block, and even had the permits to develop a couple of townhouses. So quite clear that it was a pull the house down, put up a couple of townhouses, and do something exciting with it. Mm-hmm. So on auction day, big crowd gathered. 100 or so people were there, but someone went to start the bidding. And the first bidder, which ended up being the underbidder, the person who came second in the bidding, put their hand up and said, "I'd like to bid $660,000,"
which was the quoted range.
Yep. The auctioneer sought to clarify and almost suggested maybe you could add $200 to that, not $200, $200,000.
Even though they were quoting it at $660.
That's right.
Opening offer $660.
So it ended up, the first bid ended up being $860,000, 30% over the quoting range.
So wouldn't take a bid.
Would not take a bid.
That was at the quoted range.
Exactly.
Wouldn't even accept it at the auction.
That's right. So the bids proceeded, and there ended up being about 3 or 4 people bidding along. And it was not until the auction reached $935,000, over 40% over the quoting range, that it was actually even declared on the market. And then finally it sold for $986,000, 49% over the $660,000 quoted publicly.
So 50%, 49%.
50% over. Disastrous. Outrageous.
So quoted range, not even acceptable as an opening bid.
Yeah.
200,000 above that might work as an opening bid.
Yeah.
And selling for 50% above
Yep.
the quoted range. Now, is there an explanation in between starting the listing, which presumably was some
4 weeks before,
a month or so before?
Yep.
Did anything happen in that intervening period that indicates that the market had dramatically changed in its character?
Well, I don't think anything changed. In fact, it probably wouldn't surprise you, but Blackburn South is actually the underquoting suburb of the country. On average, the difference between what agents in that suburb quote and what they sell for is on average 33% difference.
Average?
Average.
Underquoting by a third?
Yep.
But we're supposed to have all sorts of regulations now that makes underquoting outlawed.
Absolutely.
And it's supposed to be also that agents are under an obligation not to, to more properly advertise a likely sale price or a range that's more realistic.
And so I think what real estate agents have done and have been doing in the past is hide and kind of squirm through little holes. So they've been able to do things like suggesting that, the reserve price wasn't agreed until the auction day. And so we had no idea that it was actually going to be what our client wanted, which is a complete furphy.
It could be, Josh, that once the developers got their clause in, then the developers started competing with each other and the agent had an idea in between listing, thinking, there'll be a bit of interest, and then finally getting to an auction, there's actually a lot of interest. Well, we've got something that's a much hotter potato than we thought. Is that possible?
You could say that once, but then if you look at every single auction over a period of a month and over 6 months, then you start...
Hundreds and hundreds of auctions.
Then you start saying, well, hang on, either these people are deliberately misleading the public, or they don't know their own suburbs.
So, come back to your business ideas in a moment, separate issue. Is this the worst example you've seen? The best example you've seen?
Well, I suppose we do see some pretty poor behaviours from certain real estate agents. There are good real estate agents, so we shouldn't cast them all with the same brush. But this is probably one of the worst I've seen in terms of behaviour.
So what do you do with this sort of information? Where does it go? What happens?
So I think from an industry point of view, if we kind of look broadly at how real estate is sold in Australia, it's dominated by the supply side of the business. It's all about the real estate agents pushing their properties on behalf of their vendors. So if we look back 10 years ago and I asked you which was the best restaurant or hotel in Melbourne, the only way you probably would have been able to find out was by a physical book or maybe word of mouth. These days, there's all these fantastic websites which provide reviews, qualitative, quantitative data, which give you information, which gives you a better idea of whether you should go to, I don't know, Fat Duck or whatever, the latest, greatest restaurants. So,
not my scene, but I get your point.
Real estate has not been disrupted in this way yet. And so
but the democratisation of information surely means that the marketplace is much more open. It's not a matter of trusting the agents with their secret books and contacts. In fact, it's all out there for anyone to see.
It's out there, but no one's bothered to really bring it all together.
Right.
So without going into too much of a pitch of what we're
no, because it's
trying
not
to do,
an ad for your business.
Not an ad for our business, but certainly there are websites out there which are all about giving buyers, not just sellers, buyers, better information about property purchasing. So, which is about the history of a suburb, the history of an agent.
But the agents now regard the sale price of a property as a trade secret. So they don't want the market to know unless you're physically at an auction, but if it's a private sale, there's no one there. They're saying, well, now this is information that gives us an advantage and we depend on it for our livelihood. We need to maintain a monopoly of data like this and information about sale prices. If anyone gets hold of this, then we lose our whole purpose for existing.
And so the beauty of the internet and smartphones is now anyone can be that person who provides the wisdom of the crowd and provides data into all these different websites, which now inform the next buyer, the next purchaser in that suburb.
So you're setting up a business to try and understand it, where anyone who's at an auction can put information in about how many bidders, what it sold for, what it started at, and you can be sitting at auction number 7 for the morning and see immediately what happened at 5, 6, 4, 3 and 2 just by calling it up on your phone.
Absolutely, and get a real indication of what the price is going to be. So a realistic price.
It's not just the agents and their networks anymore that have the information.
I suppose the message for the listeners is it's actually the buyers who decide what a property sells for, not the sellers. It's the buyer.
Oh, it's an interesting idea. All right. So is this a Melbourne first?
It's not just a Melbourne first. It's an Australia first. So we're doing this across Australia, but it's also a global first. It's something that it's technology that can scale right across the world.
To take real estate information away from the industry and put it in the hands of the marketplace and the buyers.
Give the buyers the power to be better informed, get better transparency of what past sales were, what likely future sales will be.
So it's like TripAdvisor for tourists, or some of the new work sharing or ride sharing apps. I'm trying to avoid using brand names. It's the same approach, but to the real estate transactions.
Absolutely. And to give you an example, the particular technology we've developed, which predicts prices accurately, is something that even beats some of the biggest brands in the US in terms of what they do, some billion-dollar companies. So quite amazing.
Okay, fascinating. Look, I've got lots of callers. Lou from Q, you'll have to pop the headphones on. We'll get to the Shadow Transport Minister in just a moment. Josh Rowe from a new business, which we will mention, but we're not flogging, called realAs.com. Lou from Q, morning Lou.
Good morning, John.
Go right ahead.
Well, this app, it's amazing. If you're looking in an area of where you'd like to go, they have these little owls that are on the properties that are up for sale. And you press the owl and it gives you the real estate prediction and the app's prediction. And sometimes...
Sorry, this is a different one you're talking about, is it?
I don't know.
Okay, go on.
I didn't hear which one he was talking about.
Right.
But you press on it and it will give you the estimated amounts. And from my experience, they can be $10,000 out or they can be $200,000 out according to the prediction to the real estate agent.
Yep.
And it's incredible. You just you map it, see the little house, press the one you want to have a look at, and up it comes.
Well, it's whole new rules, all new rules. Good on you, Lou, and Des in Blackburn. Morning, Des.
Oh, good morning, John.
Is Blackburn the underquoting capital of Australia?
Well, it's certainly been surprising us recently, John. The house next to the one you were discussing earlier, the week before went for $1.7 million, which surprised the
In
daylight.
Blackburn?
Blackburn South.
Must be a massive. It was a double block.
No, it's a 2-year-old house, I believe, and with everything that opens and shuts, it's certainly not a pull down.
Was it a huge block?
No, not particularly.
So Blackburn's gone completely ballistic.
Well, Blackburn South has.
Well, we'll have to wonder what's going on out there. Good on you, Des. Thank you.
Okay, John. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Well, it just goes to show you sometimes don't even know what's going on in your own neck of the woods. Josh, keep us posted. It sounds fascinating, and we love learning about how technology is changing our world. And in fact, later this morning, we'll be looking at it in the context of investing and the boom in ethical investment in specific terms. But look, it's a ripper of an example. Do you make a complaint? Do you take it anywhere? Do you pursue it further, or just note it for comment?
So what we've done in this particular case is we've made a formal complaint with Consumer Affairs Victoria, and we've also forwarded it to the Minister for Consumer Affairs. And so we hope that they'll take action, not only in this case, but all the cases where we're seeing this right across Victoria.
Text messages. I'm in the process of selling my house. We want the low 600s, realistic, but they've advertised it for the low 500s at the suggestion of the agent, but we feel uncomfortable about it. Interesting. I'm trying to buy a house, been completely disillusioned by going to auctions, says Jason in Red Hill. Now I won't even go to auctions or look at a house if it's for sale by auction. And I went to an auction in Geelong. The house was not on the market until well above listed price. The auctioneer turned up in a fancy European sports car, famous for real estate agents, parked in a no parking spot, and that made it even worse. 19 minutes past 9 on 774 ABC Melbourne. Josh Rowe, CEO of realAs.com, and we'll continue to keep a close eye on what's happening in the real estate market.